Now, this local SEO video will be a walkthrough, a complete guide to understanding checklists. Now, I've done multiple searches for local SEO checklist, and what I've done is I've brought up the top 2 rankers, at least for my IP. What I would like to do is walk through these checklists because this is what brand new local SEO businesses or brand new websites that are in the local space are seeing for top results, and they are following these step-by-step recommendations. So I'm not saying that these recommendations are bad, but I'd like to give you some tips as a guide to help you further understand what is needed for local SEO. So I've brought up both of these pages. I'm going to walk through each point of these checklists, and that's the purpose of this video, just to help you. And let's just start with this. So the number 1 step on this particular site is optimize your logo for local SEO. Now, I would not consider your logo a ranking factor. However, it is nice to have something that is maybe trusted. It's not just vector art or anything along those lines. But let's work our way down the list here. We also have this 50 point, which is the number 1 spot ranker for local SEO checklist. Let's start over here, actually, because we can answer a lot of questions that will really help you out. So let's walk down the list here, and I will help get into this. And here's a main one that's regurgitated on a lot of sites. So let's talk about this first and foremost. So for technical aspects, make sure you have a fast loading site. This is important. Now, spending massive amounts of money to have the fastest site is completely unneeded. What you need to make sure of is go to your top 2 position rankers and see how fast their site loads. You need to make sure that your site is just as fast as theirs, because you're not receiving points for a faster site, but you will receive demotion for a slower site. So make sure that your site is just as fast as the top position, or maybe a little bit faster, but don't go completely crazy. So let's move down this list. Make sure your site is mobile friendly. If you're using any type of CMS, whether it's WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, it doesn't matter. Most businesses are using these types of platforms. Mobile responsive site templates are pretty much the norm now. If not, you can always head off to any of your favorite providers, whether it's People by the Hour, Upwork, Fiverr. You can have these sites taken care of for you. So not really an issue, but these are our top 2 things on the list so far. And over here, the number 1 piece is a logo. This is the mantra here that I want to get across. None of this is really helping with rankings, but we're going to get more into that as we go here. So installing analytics and setting up Search Console. Now, Google Analytics is great for traffic. I mean, I think that that's a must. As far as Google Search Console, absolutely you need to track any links, anchors coming in. You want to track things. So those 2 are definitely a setup, but never forget about Bing. Set up Bing webmaster tools. Make sure that you're submitting your site using Bing. That's funny that that's next. So create an XML sitemap. So I do feel that you will need an XML sitemap, but also make sure that you're putting an HTML sitemap on your site, especially maybe to have people stay on the site maybe a little bit longer. It could potentially help people, potential customers, prospects, find items on your site faster, and it'll keep them on the site longer. So make sure you're setting up an XML sitemap and an HTML sitemap. Submit it. It helps for very fast indexing. Along with that, never forget about Bing. Make sure that you're going on to Bing, get Bing Webmasters tools set up. Make sure you're submitting your sitemap over there as well, because that will help with all of the secondary search engines as well. All right, let's keep moving down this list. So create a robots.txt file. I would skip over this unless you're seeing a significant amount of traffic maybe from bots or from scrapers or whatnot. I do not feel that this is necessary. Google wants to see everything. Unless there's something that needs to be blocked, I never see any issue having that. 404 errors and 404 pages. So this is a nice little concept. Never waste your 404 pages. Make sure that you're directing them to another page or at least promoting something. Never waste your 404 pages. It's another opportunity to promote and push to another page. So make sure of that. Let's go down this list here. Website speed. So I gave the tip on that. Make sure that you're just as fast or a little bit faster, but you do not want to be slower. Mobile friendliness, very simple to take care of. Canonical with non-www canonical issues. This is easily taken care of with plugins. Not really a big issue there. 404 errors, I talked about that. Make sure that you're putting something on that page. Direct them to another page or at least promote something, right? Don't waste those pages. Schema. Schema is very, very important. And a quick tip with schema is do not skip over all schemas. Do not just get the review star schema. If you're going to use review stars, make sure it's on not the home page, right? It needs to be on internal pages, pages that contain the actual review, and use multiple different types of schema and microdata. You can use multiple types on a page. This will increase and help rankings. Definitely take a look at XHTML and RD. F1A, I believe it is. Those two, very helpful, along with Dublin Core. I won't get into that now, but check them out. Robots TXT, not necessary. SEO friendly URLs. So as far as this is concerned, and I think let's get down here on the list here, optimizing your page for local search. So here's a big tip with setting up your pages and ranking. All right, I'm not going to give you the actual steps. It's very simple to figure out, but I will tell you exactly what is needed. So depending on your niche, depending on your category, your products, your services, here's the best way to go about this. Go to Google, especially if you want to do things free. Go on to Google Keyword Planner, grab your top 10 or 20 competitors, all right? You could put their sites in there and it's going to give you a list of keywords plus traffic. It's going to basically show you the best performing pages. Whatever the pages are that they're using that are bringing in the most traffic, if you're a beginner, that's the pages that I would set up, and I would do the exact same thing as long as it's in line with your business. So very simply, go to Keyword Planner, put in your competitor's URL. It's going to give you a list. Look at the highest traffic per page, right? You have 20 competitors. Oh, this page is getting traffic. I offer this service. This page is getting traffic. I offer this service. Build out those pages. Then go and look at your competitor, see the URL structure. Okay, this is a winning URL structure. Okay, here's how many words are on the page. They're giving you the blueprint to succeed. The only thing that you're going to need to do then is increase the word count, increase the multimedia on the page, increase the densities, use more LSI, and you're going to have a better performing page over the course of time. So let's keep moving down the list here. That's a massive tip that could help hundreds of people. And that's a question that I get all the time. Where do I start? What do I build? See who's performing. There's a lot of free tools out there. Put their URL in, see what pages are performing, and do that for 20 competitors or 10 competitors. There's pages full. And just because a person for one keyword isn't ranking number one, it doesn't mean they're not ranking number one for another keyword that's bringing in 500, 600 searches a month. See what they're doing, duplicate it, but do it better. I think I've nailed that. Let's move down the list here. We're going to keep going down here. Google Maps and Google My Business. Now, Bing has their own set of maps. So make sure that you're doing everything on Bing. Everything you're doing on Google, do it on Bing too. Because I've noticed once you upload into Bing, all of those secondary, lesser known search engines and MapQuest and all that other stuff just falls into place. You'll start seeing citations just popping up on Mantra and MapQuest, and it's definitely worth your time. All right. It's very quick. It's very easy. As far as Google My Business, we can talk about this briefly. It's very, very important. Make sure you're uploading and starting your Google My Business. Now, putting in hundreds of images is just not necessary. It's simply not. Packing full all of your images with EXIF data and all of this madness is not necessary. Ranking on maps is a completely different beast than ranking in organic. But make sure of this. When you're doing your Google My Business, look at your competitors. Take a look at their main primary category and look at their secondary categories. Those are now your categories. How many images do they have? What kind of images are they showing? Where are they getting their reviews from? Are they primarily using Google for reviews? Are they using Yelp for reviews? Where are the reviews coming from? What's embedded on their site? What are they boasting? What are they promoting as far as reviews? If these sites are getting significant amounts of traffic and getting more customers in, duplicate what's already working. All right? I mean, that's always a blueprint. Modeling what's working is always going to help you build a better site. So Google My Business, make sure you're uploading your photos, see how many they're using, see what types of reviews they're boasting, use those. As far as descriptions, be descriptive. Talk about your business. If you're putting in a category or you're talking about a service on your Google My Business, that needs to be on your site. You need to list that service. It should have a dedicated page to that service, talking about that service by itself. The connection between Google My Business and your organic is almost non-existent, but it needs to match up on your website and on your Google My Business. I hope that makes sense. All right. Now, as far as this consistency with NAP and NAP and citations. Now, as far as, in my opinion, when we're dealing with citations, all right, I see this on every list. Even over here, it's always on, and you can look at any of these lists, citations. Citations are a duplicated content, basically. Now, when you go on to Google, right here, we can just pull this up here, and you put in a business name. So it could be all in text, right? This is how you're going to pull the citations that you should build. Go to your leading competitor or the top two, put all in text, put quotation marks, put the business name, right? So business name, and then quotes, and then start another quotes and put in their phone number and then put in quotes. Now, if they're SEO or they've done a good job, you should see about 100 results. Everything else is omitted. But what Google is telling you are these are the most effective and the most prominent citations, and those are the citations that you need to go and build. There's services out there where you can build hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but they're not being shown. They're being omitted. So pick the most niche specific, right? Most authoritative citations that are niche specific that Google's already favoring because your competition has them, and build out those. All right. Let's keep moving down this list here. I think I touched on that. And then be consistent. I mean, this is almost common sense. Now, if you have multiple locations, this is where each of those should have their own separate GMB then, and then you can build out separate citations. But on your site, you need to have a dedicated page to that location that is connected to your GMB, that's connected to that address. Hopefully that makes sense. Moving down the list here, contact page. This is all common sense. What else did I want to get into? Links. Backlinks. So when building out backlinks, again, if Google is showing favor to a top 3 position, not in maps, we're talking about in local organic search, you pull your top 3 competitors, and you don't need to pay for a tool. I mean, it's great to use SEMrush or Ahrefs or Majestic, but there's sites like Open Link Profile, and there's tons of them. I like that site. because it's complementary, but I also like SEMrush. I also like Majestic for pulling backlinks. All you need to make sure of is check the top 3 ranking positions, pull their backlink profiles. You're looking for the most authoritative links. Then you're going to compile a list from the top 3 rankers of the most authoritative list. You should come up with maybe 100, 200, 300 links. Now, out of those 300 links, which ones, because these are all the top authoritative links, which ones can you go out and build easily and cheaply? Those are the links that you need to build. Now, they might have tons and tons of other links in their backlink profile, but those are irrelevant. You want the most authoritative, highest quality links, and this is for longevity. So I would start with those first. So if you're building the most authoritative, the highest quality links, along with the highest quality citations, plus you're mimicking the pages that are already winning in the SERPs from your competition. So basically what I'm getting at is you have a larger site with more content, you have the best links, the best citations. Google can't help but to push you to the top because you're doing your SEO very, very, very cleanly, and you're going to end up ranking a lot faster in the SERPs. Let's keep going down the list here. I mean, backlinks are a very simple thing. It's an expansive topic, but the fact remains, and if you pull backlink profiles from competitors and they don't have that many, keep pulling competitors from the front page. If you have 10 or 8 in that list, if you cannot pull at least 100 or 200 backlinks and then go through and build some of those, then I would just keep going. Now, that leads me into anchor text. Just like backlinks, just like citations, just like your content, you need to look at the anchor text and the ratios of which they're coming in. This is often overlooked, and I don't want you to do that. So take a look. What is it looking like? Is it primarily branded? How many of them are exact match? How many of them are localized? How many of these are naked anchor profiles coming in? What are the densities? And what's the difference between the number 3 and the number 1? You're going to start noticing patterns and similarities. You need to follow and model what the top position ranker is doing, but you need to do it more. All right? So let's keep going down the list here. Images and pages. This type of stuff, I see this a lot because I get messages from, people. They're following these lists, these PDFs and these templates and these guides. And there's all of this data. And it's just like a lot of data coming at you. The fact of the matter is this. Age of the site, the amount of pages you have, the quality of the links, and in local, what's the citation? How many digital references and from what sources are coming in? Everything else is basically irrelevant, but then we need to start talking about traffic. Traffic and clicks, because eventually, especially when you start following these basic principles that we're talking about, age, content, quality of links, citations, when you start getting in those positions, the question is, once Google starts showing you to more people, are people clicking? Are people going to your site and bouncing? What are the user-generated signals? What are those signals telling Google? Now, a tip that could potentially help you, especially early on, to start generating traffic, and I'm not sure what kind of business you're in, but I'm sure there's business platforms. I'm sure there's people looking for jobs. I'm sure that there's ways, creative ways, maybe a coupon, maybe something that could get people to your site. You need to start generating traffic and clicks to start sending user data back to Google so you can start increasing rank. You could have the best site, but without any user-generated metrics, you're never going to hit position 1. Never, ever, ever, ever. You need traffic, you need clicks, you need people sitting on the site, liking and enjoying, people going to your GMB, clicking the phone, calling you, leaving reviews. You need all of these steps. All right, let's keep going down the list here. I'm just trying to cover as much information as possible. That's the objective of this video. I'm just going through these lists. I'm just trying to give as many tips that I possibly can. That's what I'm doing here. And if you follow my channel, you know that but just break down the tips one by one. I know there's a lot of them. I know I talk fast. Let's go, keep going down the list here. Local keywords, customer testimonials. Reviews are not a ranking factor. They are a trust signal for prospects, but that's why I'm telling you, wherever your competition, because you'll notice if you buy stuff, you don't just go to the very first person. You go down the list, right? You look at this site, you look at that site, you'll look at this site, and you'll start noticing that the trusted sites are very familiar, but the ones that are on page 2, they look a lot different. So model what's working, see where they're getting their testimonials from. Where are they putting them on their page? Do they have their own page? Are they getting them from Google? Follow and model what's working. Citations, we talked about citations. Build out the top 100. See where your competition is building them from. Build those. Steer clear of directories if you can. But if Google's favoring particular types of citations or links, then that's what you need to go and build. However, be very careful about the anchors that are coming back to you. And I would be careful about the amount. Now, right now, maybe building out links and having exacts coming in maybe isn't showing any type of, action. You're not getting any manual actions and any trouble, but that doesn't mean that you're safeguarded in the next 6 months or the next 4 weeks. So always think about the future, especially if you want to safeguard your website. I would always think to myself, if somebody were to look at this, does it seem natural? Does it seem like this is business oriented? Does it seem like, you know what I'm saying? Make it natural. So just try to follow those guidelines. Always think ahead for the future, all right? Unless you just want to rank, but we're talking about local, so that's not necessarily what we're doing here. We want to build a longevity business for our families. So we're seeing this claim your listing. We talked about GMB, very important. Don't forget about, a Bing. Let's move over to another list here. So this is a lot of nonsense. They're trying to give a list of something. So your image, we talked about that, not necessarily at the top of the list. Make your titles and descriptions. Oh, here, it's the same thing. So URLs, local friendly. So I would see what the SERP is. Each and every single search, whatever your keywords are for your industry, you might have 100 different keywords. I would do searches or run a tool for each of those searches and figure out who the top 3 rankers are. Because when you're building out your website, you cannot think of it as a whole site. You need to break it down page by page. So each keyword that you want to rank for, say you're a plumber, all right? So plumber services, plumber services in this city, city A, city B, city C, city D. Each of those different queries are probably going to have different results and different rankers. Now, some of them might be very similar. However, each query deserves its own page, especially if there's enough volume to make a page. And if there's not, move on. Choose a different keyword. But you need to start looking at each page as its own individual entity, because it is, and it ranks that way. So each incoming link, each competitor is its own separate entity, all right? So hopefully that can help you. Let's keep going down the list here. NAP, we talked about NAP, name, address, phone number. Make sure it's present on your site. Make sure, if you can, whatever channel you're using with reviews and your map, make sure you're embedding it and make sure it is consistent. But these little tiny hiccups, maybe FL with like floor 2 with an apostrophe or FL with a period, these are, it doesn't matter that much, all right? Google Map contact information page. Register your company with GMB. We did that. Yahoo Small Business. Schema. I told you about multiple types of schema. Register your business with local directories. I would be very careful and hesitant about that. I would see what's being rewarded by Google by the top rankers at this present time for your industry. local business page for Facebook, and that gets me into traffic generation and clicks. So I noticed this a lot with new campaigns that we run to get a boost. It's always good, depending on the niche or the category or whatever industry you're in, if you can come up with a creative way to get people to your page, to get people to your knowledge panel, to get people to your maps listing, to get user-generated signals, Facebook ads are a great way. Or another great way is all of these business platforms, right? These job offerings. You want to start getting people to your site? Why don't you offer them a job? Why don't you offer them a way to get in contact with you? Even if you're not offering a job, we're trying to generate traffic and get people to the site, right? It'll get people interacting. It'll get people checking your maps listing, your knowledge panel. Hey, how long has this business been in business? Oh, what are they doing? Oh, you see what I'm getting at? Any way you could start getting those user-generated signals, be creative. Get those clicks to your site. Get people looking for you. Get people talking about you. All of this data matters. Let's keep going down the list here. Yelp, Foursquare, nonsense. They're pitching. Pursue brand mentions, links for local press. Press releases. Press releases are a funny thing. They used to be the most effective way to build links. Even maybe a year ago, I was blasting. Press releases have been abused. I do feel that there's different quality of press releases, and my best advice would be make sure that you're getting a press release from only the highest quality sources that you possibly can. I would also look to do embeds, because that way, if you can embed something that's from your site to get a click right back to your site, to a piece of content, and when you have an embed on a page, you can change the embed by changing the page that's embedded. I hope that makes sense to you. So when you're doing your press releases, go for only the highest quality. Do not use only one type of links to build links. Press releases are effective still, but don't only use those because they work. Building drip feed links, they have a place, but make sure you're tearing them out. If you're using niche edits and you're sending those in, make sure they're tiered out. Anything that could harm you in the future, make sure that there's a barrier. Never point anything at your site that you would not want Google to see. I see this all the time. People will come, take a quick look at their backlink profiles, and you could just tell like they were trying too hard, and things take time, and age is a factor. If you have a brand new site, you need to give it time. So let's go down the list here. Optimize for mobile. This stuff is all, I think we covered pretty much everything local. We talked about GMB. We talked about citations. We talked about links. We talked about pages. And I gave the tip, get your top 10, go to Keyword Planner, see what keywords for your industry are bringing in traffic, and build out pages and do it page by page. Yes, it's a lot of work, but see the top ranker, see their word count. How many images are they using? Do they have a stylized list on their page? What's their meta description? What's their keyword density? All of every page by page, and each page is its own entity. That's the biggest tip I could give you. All right. So I